Welcome to Eagle 8. I'm pilot reporter Judd Chapin. We're going to give you a quick safety briefing on how to operate in and around the aircraft so that you'll know what to do in the event of an emergency and under normal conditions. When you approach the helicopter, always approach from the front of the aircraft, not from the rear. If you have on a hat, take it off. If you're carrying a sound pole, camera, tripod, make sure they stay down low so you don't inadvertently stick those into the rotor system. Always be conscious of the turning blades if the aircraft is running so that you don't accidentally walk into one. When you make eye contact with a pilot, always approach from the front, come to the aircraft when he signals, and go to the left or the right, depending on which way he points to. As you come to the aircraft, be aware of where the rotor blades are so that they don't flex down and hit you. They only come down to about 7 feet, but in a gust of wind, you have to be conscious of the height between the blade and the ground. To enter the aircraft, you're going to either come in the front seat or the back seat. To do the front seat, you grasp the handle, turn the handle down, the door will spring load open because of the pneumatic opener. To shut the door from the outside, just push it closed, make sure it's snug, turn the handle to the top. If you're getting in the back seat, the back door handle also tilts down. You pull the door out gently, slide it back until you hear it click, and then it's locked into place. To release the door, to close it from the outside, inside there's a red handle. You push the red handle up to release the door lock, slide the door forward. Don't slam, just slide it forward, make sure it seats in the hole, turn the handle to the top. In flight, the photographers are going to be the ones that normally open and close the rear door. To open it from in flight, you pull the handle to the top, gently push the back of the door out, slide it back until you hear it click also, then it's locked in place. The danger is if you open it when the aircraft is going too fast, in other words, you haven't gotten clearance from the pilot to open it, and he hasn't slowed it down, you could actually cause the door to fly off the aircraft. The other thing is if you slam it back too hard, you could break the catches that hold it in place, and then you've got a problem there also. So check with the pilot before you open it, check with it before you close it. He'll clear you to do that, and then just do it gently. To close the door while you're in flight, you reach up, pull the little orange handle out of the way, slide the door forward till it seats against the front door. Pull the back of the handle in, pull your handle down, that latches the door. Normally, the TV photographers wear the seat belt, just the standard car type seat belt. If you're a trip photographer, you wear the harness because you're sitting with the door open. When this harness is not in use, make sure it's snug up underneath the seat cushions. If you're using that one, make sure this harness is latched and not laying outside the aircraft, because if you do, it can bang the side of the door up and completely destroy the door in a matter of minutes. So make sure that those seat belts and any other loose items are secured inside the aircraft so they can't come outside and cause other problems. When you go to strap in the seat, take the harness loose, unfold it, wrap it around your waist. It has a double clip, slide it in until it clicks. You must do both of them. Then cinch it up nice and snug. That is the safety restraint for the photographer. Each buckle has 2 manual release catches, top and bottom of each red buckle. You must press both at the same time to release the buckle. Pressing one will not release the buckle. Press both and they come loose. The normal aircraft seat belts are car style belts. Just insert, pull to adjust. Whenever we go over water, you'll wear one of these life vests. It clips around your waist, as so. When you depart the aircraft, leave the vest in the pouch. Don't put it over your head until you clear the machine. That way you won't end up risking a puncture and a hole in it. To use it, you peel the top open, pull the vest out, unfold it, and put it over your head. Other way. And then you've got a little lanyard to pull. Just jerk it down. Should inflate it. If it doesn't, there's an oil tube. You just blow on it until you inflate your vest. Inside the vest, if you ever have a question, if you'll open it up, take the vest out, there is an instruction set in here on how to use it with nice pictures. The pilot's vest is different than the passenger's vest in that there are certain emergency pieces of equipment in here. On the pilot's right side is an EPIRB. If he is incapacitated, you can pull this out, just flip this little yellow switch up, and it'll turn it on. It acts as a homing beacon for rescue forces. In the other pouches, there are assorted different signaling devices. We have flares, we have dye markers, there's a mirror in here for signaling people. In the event of an emergency landing in the water, the pilot will inflate these floats, which get to be about so big. For that reason, you do not open this door with a handle. You've got to actually jettison the door so it doesn't puncture the float as it opens. For the photographer in the back seat, when he's notified that we're making the emergency landing, he is going to open his door, slide it all the way back until it locks. That way he has no obstructions in leaving the aircraft. In the event of a water landing or any emergency landing, the emergency door release will be utilized and not the normal door handles. To open the door with emergency release, pull the plastic away, pull the handle up, and then shove the door away from the aircraft. Two other pieces of safety equipment on board the aircraft. The first aid kit is under the back seat, behind the life raft. The fire extinguisher is on the floor right here beside the pilot's seat. When you get in the aircraft for the first time or the first several times, ask the pilot where the passenger briefing card is. The front of the card shows a colored diagram of where to approach the aircraft from. The green areas are preferred, the yellow areas are secondary, and the red area is a no walk area at all times. Open the card and you will see how to use the seat belt, how to put the life preserver on, how to use the door emergency handles, and the fire extinguisher. On the back is a list of emergency precautions. If you get in the aircraft and your headset has not been plugged in, it goes into the socket above your head. Take the headset down, put it on your head, adjust it until it's comfortable. Put the mic boom in front of your face with the mic about a ½ inch in front of your mouth. The volume control is on the side of the headset itself. You can adjust your volume for the headset with that control knob. For the front seat passenger, the mic switch is the silver button on the floor. Depress it, speak. When you're through speaking, release it. To explain the audio panel, the front passenger seat has a selector knob on the right lower corner. The passenger audio panel has a selection button on the right lower corner. That selects either the FM1, the FM2, FM3, or cell mode. To listen to a particular source, pull the knob out, adjust the volume either left to decrease or right to increase. Any combination or all can be pulled on at the same time. Going through the volume controls, on the upper left corner is the FM1 radio. It's a 450 range radio, normally set to WFLA's channel 1. FM2 is a 450 range radio, normally set on channel 3 for WFLA. FM3 is a 150 band radio, which has Coast Guard, some fire, and some police frequencies. Number 4 is the cellular switch. That allows you to listen to the cellular phone. ATC is the 5th. That's all of the aircraft radio communications between aircraft and tower. Spare is not used at this time. ICS is the internal intercom for the aircraft. TV air is what you will hear over the normal television broadcast. Auxiliary is not hooked up at this time. The next one down is the stereo. It's the luxury item. E&G is what goes out or comes in over the microwave system. The E&G switch you would monitor to hear what you were feeding either from tape, relay, or from your camera. The left front seat has a unique feature. On the lower left corner is a black button. That is the push-to-talk switch for the radios. The push-to-talk switch for the intercom is the silver button on the floor, which we showed you earlier. The back seat, both sides have a foot control. The left-hand or outboard switch on the left side is the ICS. The inboard switch is the FM transmit button. You select the radio you want to transmit on and then step on the transmit button and you'll broadcast. To use a cellular phone, switch it to cell on your selector. Then speak directly into your mic, as that is a hot mic situation. As part of the flight crew, it is also your responsibility to make sure that any passengers or yourself do not touch any of the flight controls, the avionics or aircraft systems switches. The pilot will authorize the master control to be turned on or turned off, or will do it himself. Do not attempt to turn that on until the pilot okays that particular procedure. The audio panel next to the left front passenger seat is the pilot's audio panel. Make sure if you're sitting in the front seat you're not knocking these switches off. It's the same basic console that you have on the left front and in the back for yourself. The push buttons are critical to flight operation. Do not touch any of those and turn them on or off. Master radio switches and strobes, all the other panel buttons are to remain undisturbed. The pilot will authorize and direct you to run the troll system if necessary. This is the ENG control panel. It's a troll system. Once the master radio is turned on and the master ENG switch, you should get a screen like this. If you get a red light showing right here where it says pause, or a red light where it says waypoint, pull the lower left-hand switch out, wait a second, push it back in, it'll recycle. Once that happens and you get all green lights, then that indicates that the system is working properly. This is going to be your position from the tower. This is your antenna. If you're going to go to a live shot, you're going to touch that. Make sure you're in heading, which is the directional gyro. Then you're going to come down here and hit transmit. You get a standby. You come right below standby to the top button, press it once, it goes to low power, twice goes to high power. To put it back into standby, press and hold the button. You'll get a standby indication. If you're receiving a signal from a ground unit, it's the same basic program. You just punch it up and you're automatically receiving. We'll go back to the transmitter on there. You'll see a heavy blue line that indicates that you are on ENG3. It tells you it's river view, your distance to the antenna site. This little number here says 299. That's the heading from the receive site to the aircraft. That's the number you're going to give to master control or satellite so that they know which way to turn the antenna to pick you up. If you were to get a message that says SDS comms failure, you press the message button once, it'll bring it up, and you press it a second time and it'll reset it. Once we've turned on the master radio switch and the ENG switch, the station Wolfsburg radios will come online. To bring them up for use, press the center button. They'll cycle through. Once it settles on one of the things, you cannot have both one radio and two radio on the same frequency. They'll cancel each other. So what you do is press the center button here, bring your cursor down to the number 2 radio, and then you're going to take the left-hand toggle and move it over to, it says channel number 3. Normally, ENG is set up on 3 when 1 is not is tied up. So you can contact ENG on either 1 or 3. The assignment desk will generally always be on channel 1, on radio 1, And as it turns out now, usually we can also talk to master control on or satellite on channel 1. Radio number 3 can be scrolled through either A, B, C, or D banks, and that gives us forestry and Coast Guard frequencies, and some police agencies frequencies are programmed into that also. Do not turn the talent spotlight on without approval of the pilot. At night, it can blind the pilot. To feed a picture, you can only select 2 at one time, either main, talent, camera 3 or 4. Right now we only have main and talent camera, so these 2 would be turned on, the other 2 will be off. As we add cameras, they'll go into either the 3 or 4 slot. You will also have to manually push down which camera is going to come up. This push button bus will determine what is being fed out of the aircraft. It will also appear in the monitors and is selected by either pressing one of these or using the pilot push button on the cyclic stick. The lower bus, the one closest to the back seat, is the photographer preview bus. For special occasions, we're able to feed audio through the system from either of the aircraft radios or the FM radios by selecting this switch in the down position or mixer mode and adjusting the volume with this switch. For normal operations, this will be turned off. The audio will be in the audio follow video mode, and we will adjust our volumes with these switches for whichever camera position we need it to record from, either the pilot, the passenger, hand mic, tape machine, or whatever. Right rear seat audio switch, which allows the right rear seat to listen, is above the right rear seat on the ceiling.
We are now going to show you how to operate the camera unit. When the photographer approaches the vehicle, you need to make sure that the lens is clean. It is the photographer's responsibility to make sure the lens is clean before and after the flight. This is the camera control unit, and on it has a joystick to move the camera around, and various switches and knobs which we will go over later to adjust the drift and horizon on it. And it has a camera control unit. This one you see is a Sony. You might have an Ikegami or other various models, and all of them will have generally the same switches on them and knobs as far as black level or iris control. Over here we have shutter and white balance buttons. They all will have this general information or general buttons on them, but they might be in a different configuration. Over here we have the filter wheel button that you can choose, and on the unit here it will tell you what filters or what numbers. So depending upon your situation and what you have going on outside is what filter you will use. When you get in the helicopter, the gimbal power should be on, the camera power should be on, and the auxiliary power should be off. The first thing you want to do is turn on your azimuth and elevation button. Let's go over how to move the camera now. On the right side of the laptop, there's a joystick. In our operation, the normal configuration of the switches above the joystick are both to be in the down position. That will let you move the camera. When you move the joystick down, the camera will go up. When you move the joystick up, the camera will go down. And right and left are normal. This is normal operation. You can move the switches around to make the joystick react in the reverse manner, but normal operation is to have both switches down, so when you move the joystick down, the camera goes up. Over here on the left side, we have the tight and wide button. These are the zoom controls for the camera. All right, now you will want to move the camera and find a stationary object that is pretty far away, like this light post over here, and adjust the elevation and azimuth drift to keep the object in the middle of the screen so that it's not moving. Let's talk about the recording device now. Some aircraft might have tape recording devices, other might be tapeless, but the operation of the machine should generally be the same. So you want to insert a tape every time you get into the helicopter and rewind it. Make sure your tape is rewound all the way to the beginning, and when it is rewound, you want to push the reset button so you know how much time you have to record on your tape. Now let's white balance the camera. You want to pick an object that is white in the sun and push the AWB button, which is the automatic white balance button. It will blink a little bit and then you should be good to go. Now you are ready to take off. You can now inform the pilot that the camera control unit is ready and he can take off and proceed safely. Let's go over the filter wheel while we're at it. I showed you in the beginning the filter location description is down at the bottom. In this operation, in normal sunlight, I like to operate in filter number 2, which is a filter of 56 Kelvin with 1/4 neutral density on it. And I like to operate the camera with a shutter speed of roughly 250 or 500. Now, depending upon your light situation and what you're shooting, it might be darker. So the first thing you would do if you're shooting something darker is to knock down the shutter, because if you turn down the shutter, it will open your iris level more and let more light into the camera. Now, if it gets darker in the evening, you might have to go to filter 3, which is straight 5600 Kelvin or daylight with no neutral density filter on it at all. And that will let the most amount of light into your lens, allowing you to get a picture. Now, keep in mind that when you turn the extender on here, which doubles the magnification of the lens, your light will be reduced. So you might have to adjust these as needed along with the iris level as you're operating the camera. Let's talk about detail, master black, and your iris level right now. I like to operate the camera with high amount of detail, so I turn that up all the way to the right and I turn the master black all the way down to get a nice sharp picture. Now, again, depending upon the daylight situation, if you're shooting at night, you would first start to turn your master black up to allow more light into the camera before you go to the gain button up top. So if you're flying at night, again, you would be in filter number 1 to allow the most light into the camera. Your master black would be all the way up, and the gain would be probably mid to high, depending upon how grainy and how dark the situation is. Now, normal daylight situations, I keep the camera with high detail and low master black, and the iris level I keep in auto, and anywhere from 50 to 75% iris level open. Now, if you come across where the sun is shining directly into the lens, you will have to move it into the manual position and ride your iris manually. Now that we are in flight, but here on the ground for this training video, you want to do a test record. So hit play and record on your recording device, record about 20 seconds of video, and then rewind it and play it back to make sure that you are getting a good recording. Now that we've been flying and given our gyro enough time to warm up, when we followed the 8 minutes, you can push the roll button. You see the camera switches to its normal position, and you want to keep the azimuth at 0 or on the nose and ask the pilot to fly straight and flat while you adjust the roll. Now you will come over here to the roll position knob. You will twist this to make the camera's horizon flat. Now let's turn the sensitivity down so the camera doesn't like to freak out. This camera should be on the medium position when flying the camera around, and that is a good speed to stay at. When you're going to do a live shot, on the other hand, you want to turn your sensitivity down to about a third right there. And it allows you to smoothly follow the action rather than jerk the camera around. Now, you can turn this down more, but remember, the more you turn this down, and if the helicopter is flying around, you will not be able to keep up with the speed of the helicopter and the object that is staying still. So you'll have to see and play with this a little bit and see how low you can turn it to make it smooth. Let's go over the secret of sample hold. First, you want to turn it on. Now what this does is allow you to keep your object in the middle of your joystick. So it redefines the center of the joystick. So if you're turning left to keep the object in the center of the screen, after we set the sample hold, it now will hold that position in the middle. So after you find your object and you're holding it in the middle of your screen, you want to push the sample hold button, hold it down, and then release it. And now you have a new center, and it's easier to keep your object in the center of the screen. That is a little hard to understand, but when you're in the air and playing with it, you'll see how it works for you. After you return to normal flight operations, you want to turn the sample hold off. Now let's review some of the buttons and switches that you should touch and you should not touch while in the aircraft. Again, the iris and master black you can just adjust. The detail, the auto and manual iris switches, the white balance switches, the shutter, gain, extender, filters, all these buttons you can touch and adjust. You should not be adjusting the azimuth drift and elevation drift while in the air, and the azimuth position and elevation position while in the air. All other buttons and switches you should be able to operate while in flight.
The equipment that's in the vest, the survival gear that's in the helmet bag, the first aid kit under the back seat are all things that can help you survive in an emergency situation. Make sure that when you leave the aircraft, if the pilot doesn't direct you to do so, look for those items, the green helmet bag in the back seat, the vest that the pilot's wearing. Try to get those, to take those with you, because all those items in there can be utilized for your survival. Hopefully this tape will familiarize you with what we have to do with the aircraft, both operationally and safety-wise. If you have any questions, no question is stupid. Always ask. That one question may save your life.